what we're doing is we're going through the book of Titus. It's a little short letter in the New Testament. And this week, it's all about relationships in the church. I mean, I want to tell you, I planned it to go this well, but I didn't. This is God leading in this. And, for many people, we often talk about church as being a noun. It's a place where we go to. I say, I have to go to church today, or I'm going to church in the future. And we think of church as a noun. And whenever we do that, we think of it simply as a place to attend. And church is just simply entertainment. It's focused on entertainment and programs. Can I keep you awake? Or are the programs that we have here for my children or for me, are they enough? Do they feed me? And church is all about, again, when we think it's somewhere that I go to, church is about what do I get out of it, and worship and our life is not about what we get. It's about what do we give? How do we honor God with it? It's just the opposite. And so Scripture teaches that church is not someplace I go to, but it's a people group that I am a part of. I am the church. You are the church. That's what makes it so great. And so church is not just preaching or singing or a place. It's you. It's the people of it. And we're going to see that as we look in today's passage. It's about community. Now, in your notes, I think I have a couple of definitions about community. And the first one there is, it's pretty much what, if you go to any kind of source, Webster's or whatever, they all pretty much say the same thing, community. And it's a group of people who have some kind of connections. They're unified because of either a common geographical area, like we all live in the same neighborhood or city, we call that a community, or else they're either connected through common characteristics, interests, or purpose. Those are pretty good, but one of the dictionaries that I was studying had this. This is closer, I think. Look what it says. It says, a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common ownership. And I wrote attitude. It really should be mindset. Like, we own this. We're in this together. Common participation and common goals. When we talk about community, at least in the scriptural things, that's close to what it is. That there's a feeling of fellowship. And I think a great way to define community or fellowship is when there's soul rubbing. Like, it's not just knowing your name. That's a good place to begin, right? Hence name tags. But we need to know each other, because what makes church community different is that we have Christ in us. We acknowledge our need, right, for God to save us, but also for each other, that we need support and encouragement and correction. We need each other. That's the only way we'll live out the full purpose that God has for us. So in your notes, I found this other definition. I think it's just from some blogger guy, to be honest, but I love it. I think it's pretty close. In your notes, it says, if we can go to the next slide there, it says a group of people, a group of people that care about each other and feel they belong together. That's pretty close. Let me explain. Number one, it's a group of people. That should be obvious, right? Community is about people. It's not about a geographic thing. It's people. Like, there can be an area, but what matters, again, in community, is people. And too often we might even use the phrase, well, that's the beach community or the senior adult community or the church community. And even when we use phrases like that, it's easy to think of a group, but miss out the fact that we're talking about individuals, people, real stories, real events. Here's why this happens. We could talk about the church community at Church by the Sea all day long. But you know what? Someone's house this week in our church blew up, exploded. That changes things, doesn't it? That's not just a church community thing. That's a person. And so what happens? We, the church community, group of people that care about each other and feel they belong together, we need to be there for her. Does that make sense? That gives you a whole different picture, doesn't it? It's people. It's all about individuals and real stories, real hurts, real hopes. And next in that definition, it says a group of people, but that care about each other. That's the core of it. that we care about each other. We should care about each other more than the coffee or more than the carpet. I want to tell you something right now. You guys should be furious. Johnny, I think, spilled coffee over here this morning. I saw a trail over here. Let's. Okay, now, so what? It's carpet. I feel bad he missed out on a cup of coffee. Right? We care about each other, and we got to show that in ways. I mean, we need to elevate each other. And when we really care for each other, that's when the magic, the gift of community really happens to us. Next in there, it says that they feel that they belong to each other. And that's important because we need to know that we're loved and we're valued. You know, if you remember the old TV show, Cheers, right? You remember Norm? Norm! Everybody knew Norm, you know? I mean, and the song even talks about the place where everybody knows your name. Church should be like that. Another reason for name tags for the month of July. Instead of, hey, bud, all right, we have names. Let's use these labels that our parents gave us to speak to each other. But we need to know each other and care for each other. And then the last word just says together. We all need a place where we feel like we belong. You know, some of us get that at the gym. Some of us get that where we work. Some of us get that where we live. Church, in the truest sense, should be that place. You know, that's what we need to aspire. So what I love about today's passage, it talks about relationships in the church. So we're not talking about a group of people on the island of Crete over in the Mediterranean. We're talking about church by the sea. If Paul was alive, he could write this letter to us. Okay? So let's jump in and I'll show you. Number one in your notes, it says a primary scriptural truth for the passage. Verse 1 is sort of like the umbrella for this whole passage. He says, as for you, Titus, which is the guy he's writing to, he's like the pastor that's trying to get this church organized in this island of Crete. He says, promote the kind of living that reflects wholesome teaching. Wholesome just means healthy, biblically healthy. And here's what I love about this. Paul's not saying, okay, teach them correct doctrine. What he's saying in this passage, he's saying make sure that people live out correct doctrine. Difference. Have you ever known someone who knows the Bible inside and out, or at least some of it, and they just have they're just not very sweet people, are they? Anyone? Don't point. Okay. Scripture, and this passage in particular, Paul is writing, telling Titus, we're not talking about doctrine and how, what you know. We're talking about making sure people live out correct doctrine. That's so important. And so when he uses the word wholesome, he's saying healthy biblical living, not just knowledge, but living the lifestyle of it. And then he's going to go into some different areas, so different groups of people. So let's jump in. You'll find your place, I'm sure, in here. And what I love about this is Paul's talking about the family. It's all about an image of a household or a family, which is one of my favorite pictures of the church. That's why I often say that our church family is what I always refer to it, because that's what we're supposed to be. Okay, he goes on here and he says, to the older men. So he's going to call us out, the older men. Now let me say this to you. In ancient Roman days, an older man, well, you only lived to like your 40s. Okay, so you're all older men, pretty much, all right? And he's saying, he's going to say, we need to honor them not only because of their age, but of their character. Because of their character, how they are, they deserve honor. Okay, so let's see. Verse 2. He says, Titus, teach the older men to exercise self-control, to be worthy of respect, and to live wisely. They must have sound faith and be filled with love and patience. The first phrase there, exercise self-control. What it means is temperate. Someone who doesn't go excess or crazy about anything. Like there's nothing that's just out of balance in him. Have you ever known anyone that they get so excited about something, they just get carried away? Like that defines my entire adolescent stage, Baseball, and that's all I'm thinking about. Car stereos, just we all had our own moments, and just it consumed us. And what Paul is saying, for the older men, they need to be tempered. This is what godly maturity looks like. They're not crazy. Have you ever noticed, like, you can be so excited about something? Maybe you're talking to your dad at some point, you're in your 20s, and you're just like, Dad, this is the greatest opportunity ever, or I can't believe it's going to happen. And your dad's going, yeah, I know, son. He's just like he's not that excited. And you're going, well, what's your problem? Where's your heart, Your dad's seen it before. Like, he knows not to get too excited about. I think that's what Paul's saying. That, for men, we need to keep it pretty level here. Here's what I know. For some, we can get so bought into something, it carries us away. Alcohol. I know a lot of lives destroy that. It carries them away. Anger. They can get so hurt. And they're so caught up on an event that happened, and it's captured them. And it's like it's carried them away from reason. They're just angry. For some, it's lust or control. They just got to be the one to have the last word. And Paul's saying, maturity in an older man, you've had this experience, all these experiences, you should be tempered, self-controlled. Things don't grab a hold of you and carry you away. Second, worthy of respect. Meaning that they're dignified, they're trustworthy, and they deserve respect just because of how they live. Again, it's what a mature man should look like. Next, it says sound faith. They're solid in their doctrine, their understanding. But then the word sound, that actually goes with faith and then love and patience. The way it's written grammatically in the original language, it's what it's saying. So he's saying, okay, sound faith, meaning you're solid in your faith in Christ. You know enough doctrine that you're solid. Second, or the one after that, is you're filled with sound love. It's being genuine. You love others. The genuine Christian lifestyle is you love others. You don't look down on them, but you care for them. Not just in a generic way where you say, yeah, I love others. But you hear someone's house blowing up, hello, and you're in their life. You hear of a marriage on the rocks, and you're in their life because you love them. Again, we don't know what's happening in each other's life if we're not talking to each other. And if we don't know what's happening in each other's life, we're certainly not involved in each other's life to support and to encourage and to correct. We need that. And then last it says that filled with sound patience. Oh, man. Patience means long suffering, the ability to suffer a long time, especially in relationships. You ever have anyone in your life who requires that? Ooh, yeah. Maturity in us older guys, that's what it needs to be expressed. People need to see that, someone messes up, they're a knucklehead. We don't just throw them out. We put our arm around and go, get over here, come on. And we're in their life. And then guess what? 2 weeks later, they're doing the same stupid thing. You don't kick them out again. You grab them by the neck this time, and you come here, right? And you, older men, you can do that. That's your gift. Pull us young guys in there going, come on, what are you thinking? And you're not doing it publicly. You're not talking to the back row or the front row and going, well, we need to have a committee on this guy. No, you don't. We need to grab him by the neck and pull him in, all right? That's the kind of love we need. And so older men, let me ask you, when's the last time you went to one of the younger guys in this church and you met him for coffee or took him out for a Coke just to talk about life? Talk about being a godly man. That's what needs to happen. All you old guys, and I'll let you define the age for that. That's how we need to live. Use the name tags, grab them by the neck, take them out to eat. That'll preach right there, won't it? Okay, let's go on. But we're not done. Older women, I am not addressing that. Paul says, similarly, or in the same way as the older guys, teach the older women to live in a way that honors God. Okay? They must not slander others or be heavy drinkers. Instead, they should teach others what is good. These older women must train the younger women to, and we'll pick that up, honors God, devotion to God, and it's just seen in your lifestyle. Honor God with everything you do. That should be all of our purpose for living. But here's how it says to do that. Number one, not slander against others. Here's what's interesting. That word slander, the Greek word is diabolos, which is where we get the word for the devil. So that should cause us to pause right there. It's saying, and Satan is known as the one who gives false accusations against the Christ followers before the throne of God. They're not good. They're not holy. They're not, and he's the one who accuses. And what Paul's saying here is, ladies, make sure that you're not making accusations against someone. Here's what I know: many ladies who are they have high moral standards. And when we have high moral standards, it's easy to be critical of others. And so if that's an area of you, make sure you're not, because it's only by the grace of God He's allowed you to mature and live year after year and to grow in your faith. And some of us younger folks, we're knuckleheads. We know it. But again, we don't need a lecture to come down on us. We need you to come alongside of us. And I think that's sort of where Paul's going here with this. And then he says, don't be heavy drinkers. Obviously, it can lead to a lot of trouble. Then it says, teach what is good. The word good means beautiful. Let your life and your words, how you spend time with each other, be beautiful. Share that with the younger ladies and with other folks. And then the last part, it says, teach the younger women. And we'll sort of come to that in a moment. But here's what I want to tell you. Teach, the word there, teach these younger women, older ladies, I'm talking to you. When it says teach or train these younger women, it means to remind them. Remind them. And it doesn't say lecture. It doesn't say preach at them. Remind them. I have the picture of an older lady and a younger lady, and they're getting together. They're at Sweet Brunette having coffee, or they're at Chicken Salad Chick, or they're somewhere at Panera, and it's just an informal time. But it's relationship building. Not at a meeting, not a committee, but each other. It's relationships, soul rubbing. And so, older ladies, let me ask you, when's the last time you've met with a younger lady? Just to say, how's life? Let's talk. Because you know how crazy it is when you know how crazy life is. Sometimes we just need someone who's been down that road and put your arm around us and say, honey, I've been there. I know you want to kill your husband. I'm with you, but we can get through this. Let me remind you of why you married him. Let me remind you of when you first had your kids. Again, we need that. All right, let's go next. Third group, younger women. Verses 4 and 5 say this. These older women must train the younger women, again, it means remind them, to love their husbands and their children, to live wisely, to be pure, work in their homes, do good, to be submissive to their husbands. Woo-hoo. All right, we'll get to that. Then they will not bring shame to the word of God. Young ladies, again, you define that. You got to be teachable. Got to be teachable. One of the characteristics of millennials, younger adults today is you know it all. And here's the truth. Yes, a lot of older people can't figure out email still. That's okay. They have experience, and there's so much you can learn from them. They can't program your phone, but they can tell you how to navigate difficulties in life. We got to be teachable. Also, it says to love their husbands and children. That is funny, but it's true, isn't it? If you've been around for a while, don't you sometimes need to be reminded you have to love them? You gotta, right? You gotta. And again, when we have someone who's older, who's been there, they can just come alongside of us and just help us get the right perspective. Younger ladies, you need the older ladies to speak into your life. Also, younger ladies, live wisely, be pure. No, you got to be modest. That's a really good quality. And it's pretty rare these days. You know, I think we need to put a banner, at least in some schools, where it says just because they sell it at Aeropostale doesn't mean you have to wear it. You know, if you look at some of the clothes these days, they're not modest, but ladies, be modest and be pure. No hoochie mamas, okay? That's what it means in the original language. Greek for hoochie mama. Look that up, okay. For, it says work in their homes. It means be busy at home. Focus on your home, because that's what matters most. It's great to go do a career, but when it comes down to the end of it, it's about family. Okay, now let's get to the good part about being submissive, because I know some of you are going, yes, I've been waiting for this. Come on. And it means to literally place yourself under your husband. Now, I will say this. Every culture defines that a little bit differently. And anyway, here's what it means. It means you can't be independent. If you're married, you cannot live independently as if your spouse's heart or choice or preference does not matter. You know, when I do premarital counseling, I always talk about being one and about submission. And it's really a mutual submission is what it is. But here's the picture of it. Think of it this way. Husbands, your job as provider, a primary provider, but to bring security to it, think of yourself as holding an umbrella. It's your job to make sure the umbrella's there and it's held. It's not just over you, but you're holding it for your family. Okay. Submission means to place yourself under. It means, ladies, keep yourself under your husband's umbrella. Because if you run outside, you know what happens? You get wet. And when you get wet, when you come back in, his dryness does not rub off on you. Your wetness rubs off on him. And it's the picture of one flesh, one marriage. You make decisions together. So you can't be running off going, I'm spending all my money here and he's doing something else. You get two different independent people. It's not a picture of oneness. And so it's saying, ladies, submit. You have to cooperate with your husband. Okay, now again, every household will define that differently. You know, who does the books and who does the whatever, but you guys decide that in your house. But we can't live independently. And it's a picture of a godly woman is one who loves and respects her husband. Now again, there's a whole nother teaching on for us guys, but it's not here, so we'll move on. Young women, I want to ask you, when's the last time you invited an older woman out to go to Panera and just talk? We need that. All right, younger men, we'll wrap it up here. In the same way, encourage the young men to live wisely. You yourself must be an example to them by doing good works of every kind. Let everything you do reflect the integrity and seriousness, or the reverence is what it means, of your teaching. Teach the truth so your teaching can't be criticized. Then those who oppose us will be ashamed and have nothing bad to say about us. So that's really to Titus. Young men, I know you know it all. I know you think you can do it all. I know. Some of us old guys still think that way. You need to know the older guys in this church family. Let me tell you something. I've heard young people say, well, I just need to go learn the lesson myself, and they just go stomp out and go do something stupid. That is foolish. Why? It's a lot better to learn from someone else's mistake than insist it's going to work out different for you. Right? You need a more mature voice at times, I promise you, because testosterone at times will override reason. You're going to want to say those famous words. Hey, y'all, watch this. And you go and do the very last stupid thing on earth. It's over. Don't. We need each other. We need each other. Young guys, hey, you see us old guys walking the hallway? Say hello to us. And then say it again because we won't hear you the first time. Okay? But don't just ignore us. We care about you. So do you know your place here in the family? Old men, old women, younger. This whole chapter is about knowing each other, about bonding, because we care for one another. And we can't care for one another if we don't know one another. Because I know that's why July's been an upside down kind of thing, with changing the service times and trying to get 180 people here on the stage, this little stage, and there's no room for anything, and and these crazy name tags and trying different things just to get us together. We can't make you be friends. All we can try to do here as leadership is try to create opportunities. And there are just some amazing people, perhaps sitting right next to you, but in the pew in front of you or behind you, there are some amazing people. And we got to know them. And what I know is that a lot of times we're praying, God, I need this. God, I need you to show up here really big. God's answer to your prayer may be in the person around you. You never know. We have stories of people who met each other because they sat next to each other. A few months later, they got married. Might happen again. I don't know. But God made us to be a community that is not just a place to go to, but to be a community. Let's honor God, not just with correct knowledge, but to live out that correct doctrine in our relationships. Please bow your head.